Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Carlos from Hybrid Records, the channel where the rules are made up and points don't matter. I'm here to do the obligatory best of 2021 album list, so here we go. Alright, so before I get started, I'm really only going to talk in detail about the top 10, and the top 10 are also the only ones that are in order, but I'm going to show and mention a few more things than that. The first things that I want to mention are the records that I really like this year that I don't have on vinyl or maybe haven't been released on vinyl yet, but are still worth mentioning because they technically won't count for 2022 when they get vinyl releases. Anyway, one is Nas King's Disease 2 and his album Magic, which came out in December. He's on a really strong three-peat right now, and King's Disease 3 hasn't even come out yet. Honestly, I think it's the best he's ever been. Controversial opinion, but deal with it. Tyler, the Creator, Call Me When You Get Lost, obviously the new Lingua Ignota record. Turnstile, Glow On. I didn't find myself going back to it a lot, but it is like a creative and inventive enough album that even though it's not something that I regularly want to put on a regular basis, the fact that, you know, I grew up on like punk and mostly punk, but some hardcore, I think it should be acknowledged for doing what it did and doing it so effectively. Donda, Don't Get It Twisted, great record. Fight me. You don't have to love the people that make art that you love all the time, because I certainly do not love Kanye, but I loved that record. Madlib, Sound Ancestors, great album. Vince Staples, the self-titled, also a great record. Now, there also are a ton of records that I didn't get to listen to this year that kind of flew under the radar for me. Here are some of the records from this year that I still need to listen to, that I want to listen to, but that I haven't had enough time with to be able to definitively put it on my top or anything like that. The new album from Helado Negro, the Illuminati Hotties record, Little Sims, the record from Dry Cleaning, Black Midi, Cavalcade, Claire Rousey's album, the new Yola album, the new Silk Sonic album. Yes, I have not listened to it all the way through. I think they really botched the marketing on that one. Leave the Door Open was fire. Skate was fire. They told us we were getting it in the summer. It didn't come then, and so we were kind of just left like waiting. And honestly, by the time it came out, my interest had kind of fizzled. I got like slightly annoyed with the kind of them basically saying, hey, the album's done. I just don't feel like it yet. You know, I don't know. That whole rollout of that record, I think, kind of made what could have been like a really, really, really high point for the year ultimately kind of like just feel like a, you know, I don't know, drop in the bucket, I guess. The new Pink Panthers album I haven't had a chance to listen to. New Lucy Dacus, I listened to maybe once or twice, but certainly not enough. Mon Laferte is someone that I keep hearing a lot about that I haven't had a chance to listen to. Jasmine Sullivan's album Hotels, really honestly didn't know about it until just recently, but it's making a lot of top 10 lists, so I definitely want to check that one out. The Sons of Kemet record I didn't get a chance to listen to a ton, and an album called Ultra Pop by The Armed. I was listening to a little bit of it as I was getting ready to make this video, and I liked what I heard so far, but I was listening to it on my tiny little laptop speakers, and as intense as that record sounded, it my computer sounded like it wanted to explode while that album was playing. But now, you know, stuff from the record collection that I really liked this year that I kind of want to talk about a little bit. So, here we go. The new Bad Bad Not Good was great. Great listen. The white vinyl version there, which is nice. Really dug the new Snail Mail as well. Gold vinyl version on that one, which is cool. This record was like impossible to get when it came out at the beginning of the year. Ended up making a much bigger splash than I think people had anticipated, and probably would be higher on my list if I felt more comfortable speaking with any kind of authority on this particular brand of jazz, but it's the Floating Point and Pharoah Sanders record. It's just not a genre or style that I'm well versed enough in to be able to say like, oh, this record is so good that it's number 5 on my list. Although this record is so good, I just couldn't tell you why. I just like it. This one probably should be in the top 10 because I have spun it so many times. It's an instrumental, like, soul funk album that sounds like it should have, like, come out of, like, the early 70s, but it came out this year. It's really, really good. I play The Rugged Walk quite a bit whenever I DJ. So that one's great. Rugged Nuggets, Odds and Ends. I talked about Caleb Landry Jones in 2020 because The Mother's Stone came out that year. This one is Gadzooks Volume 1. Just want to make sure I was saying that right. This is on red vinyl, which obviously fits really well with the album art. Caleb Landry Jones is an actor. You probably know him from Get Out as well as like a ton of other things. Heaven knows what. You probably heard me talk about this already if you listened to last year's video. But I thought this album was good. It was interesting. You know, he's doing this experimental psych kind of crazy hodgepodge of things, and it's just an exciting listen. I'm not really like a huge like classic metal fan. Like I don't like just put on Judas Priest records. I don't own any Judas Priest records, but for some reason the particular brand of like new wave of British heavy metal like revival music that Wolftooth makes I really dig. It's pretty freaking heavy, and yeah, it's got some of the kind of like cheesy guitar work, I guess, but it's really good. Also, man, I should have found this before I started this video. Crap. Okay, well, I think I sold the record that I'm looking for, but the new Green Lung freaking rips, too. I thought I had a copy of it on vinyl, but I might have played it in the shop and sold it to somebody that was like, hey, what is this? Can I buy this? Because that happens sometimes, not frequently, but sometimes that happens. Anyway, moving right along. The new Weezer album is sick. This one, Van Weezer, I could take or leave, but OK Human is really good. All My Favorite Songs is a great song, and a ton of La Brea Tar Pits, Here Comes the Rain, Bird with a Broken Wing. Lots of really great songs on this record. They're batting like 50% these days. Really liked the White Album. Black Album sucks. Really liked OK Human, and like I said about Van Weezer already. Butterfly 3000, King Giz and the Lizard Wizard. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Maybe I should have put this in my top 10. I don't know. It's a great record, though. I really dug it, and I have listened to it quite a bit. So, you know, I don't know. Whatever. Undu Mokhtar's new record, Afrique Victim, I guess is how you say it. I don't know. I probably fucked that up. He's from Niger and plays this, like, heavily African like folk music influenced like psych rock almost, prog-ish maybe. I think more psych. Just like a ridiculously good guitar player, Undu Mokhtar. And all the songs are cool. It's like a very like fresh sound for people on this side of the Atlantic. I'm sure we don't get a ton of that kind of stuff in like quote unquote popular music. I mean, no one's listening to Undu Mokhtar on the radio or anything, but in the circles of, you know, music appreciators and record collectors, I would say that Undu Mokhtar is a name that if you're watching this video, you've probably heard before because you're the type of person that looks at top 50 lists. Anyway, this Nancy Sinatra comp, yes, all this music came out 50 years ago, mostly, slightly less, 40, 50 years ago, and you know, it's been on vinyl before, but this particular compilation I just feel like is so good, and it was so well put together, and I really love that Light in the Attic has gotten together with Nancy and her team to put this together because, you know, often overlooked artists, I feel, from that time period. They're the people that love her, and especially the music she did with Lee Hazelwood. But, you know, I can't say as a record store owner that people come in all the time asking for Nancy Sinatra records, but when I had this in the shop, we sold a ton of them. People bought them all. In fact, I was listening to it, and a guy asked me if he could buy it, and I felt terrible telling him no because I was listening to this copy, my copy, and, you know, didn't want to part with it. Anyway, new Japanese Breakfast, Jubilee, very good record. This is like the clear with yellow swirl color vinyl, I believe. But yeah, very, very good. Dug it. Didn't listen didn't listen to it maybe as much as some other releases throughout the year, and so it's part of why it's not in my top 10, but we are getting very close to that. The new Jungle record is great. It's just super, super fun. And sometimes it's all a record needs to be. Music City USA, Charlie Crockett, doing the Lord's work by making some great country music in 2021. None of this Florida Georgia Line crap. JT by Steve Earle and the Dukes. Unfortunately, amongst, a great many other people, we lost Justin Townes Earle this year. He was a great, country Americana folk singer-songwriter. Tortured guy, had a lot of, demons that he fought and dealt with and whatnot, and, they caught up to him this year, and, he passed. Now, Steve Earle has done records like this before. He did Townes, he did Guy for Guy Clark, where he covers an artist's music, usually someone he was friends with, like Townes and Guy Clark. But it's really fucking sad that he had to make one of those records for his own son. Heartbreaking stuff. But very beautiful covers, and, it's just kind of special to hear, a father pay tribute to his son in this way. And it has some of my favorite Justin Townes Earle songs, Lone Pine Hill being probably my favorite, Harlem River Blues, Champagne Corolla. Those are all amazing songs that are on here, so great record. This compilation from Penrose Records came out for Record Store Day, and it's so good. The Sacred Souls, Los Yesterdays, The Altons. Just really great, like, throwback soul kind of. I mean, if you like the stuff that, like, Coal Mine and Big Crown put out, then you should be looking at Penrose as a label. And then the El Michelle Affair. This one's Yeti season. Now, the only reason, and I mean the only reason this is not in my top 10, is because the El Michelle Affair put out 3 records this year. They put out this one, they put out another like reggae record with a singer, guitar player named Liam Bailey, and then they put out the Abominable EP, which is, I guess, like kind of outtakes and extras from the sessions for Yeti season. Now, if they had just put out one of those records in a year, whichever record they put out would have been in my top 10 or whatever, because they're all so good, but I couldn't pick just one. So, and I have the other 2 at the shop, but this list is already so damn long at this point. I figured I would just talk about the one in detail. And we have now entered the top 10. At number 10 he is on the list because of its sheer inventiveness and creativity and just absolutely wild concept. It's by Luca Upanaki, who at the time of recording this record was not yet born. This is what it looks like right there. Boom. Came out on Sacred Bones. It's called Sounds of the Unborn. And the hype sticker says it all right here. A one-of-a-kind album made while its creator was still in the womb, brought to life with biosonic MIDI technology. So basically, the movements and things happening in the mother's womb at the time were sent out or converted into a MIDI signal, which then was put through different electronic instruments that could interpret that MIDI signal to create music. And it's pretty wild. This one almost kind of got left out of my list because it came out, I think, in February of 2021, so almost a year ago, so early that it starts to bleed together. I'm like, did that come out this year or was it last year? But thankfully, Sacred Bones doing the Lord's work. It says right here on the back of the jacket, an LP released in 2021, so can't get confused about that. This next one is definitely one of my favorites and one of my biggest surprises and favorite discoveries of the year. And that is an album called I Am Alicia by Alicia Walter. It came out on Super Records, which is that's not good. Lots of static going on in there. Super Records is a Chicago-based record label founded by an artist named Namdi, I believe. If I'm mistaken, let me know in the comments. And Alicia Walter has played in some bands in the Chicago area, I believe, but this is her first solo record. And it's like if Laurie Anderson was like a soul musician, I guess. I don't know. It's really quirky and eccentric, and she has a very like specific voice that sounds great over the kind of offbeat instrumentals that they've crafted here. And I mean, her credits on this are wild. I mean, written and arranged by Alicia Walter, produced by Alicia Walter. She has credits for vocals, piano, synthesizers, keyboards, drum programming, synthesizer bass, drums, Celesta, tack piano, acoustic guitar, optigan, marimba, bells, and percussion. There's one other musician, Devin Greenwood, who has a lot of credits, and then there's a bunch of different people that contributed trumpet parts or cello, tap dancing, stuff like that. But really, really, really a good record. Just lots of different sounds and styles and things that are happening on this. Consequence of Sound, it's quoted on the hype sticker here, and I couldn't have said it better. We could barely find words to describe the avant-pop artist, a stratosphere of songwriting all her own, and I think that's a great description of what that record is. It's joyful, it's introspective, it's captivating. It's definitely worth listening to. One of my most anticipated albums of the year by a long shot, coming in at number 8, I believe. Yeah, I've already lost count. Number 8, St. Vincent Daddy's Home. She's doing like a 70s funk kind of soul rock thing here. Melting of the Sun is just a great, great, great song. My Baby Wants a Baby. Pay Your Way in Pain, the album opener, just really sets the tone straight away, and everything that Annie Clark does is fantastic, and this is no exception. I think that some people, I know David, if you're watching this, you might think this is just about you, but I'm sure there's other people that feel the same way. She set the bar so high with all of her other records that if, and this actually is a direct quote from my friend David, so sorry. If the next St. Vincent record isn't my favorite St. Vincent record, it's disappointing, which is a crazy standard to hold an artist to, but I can understand when, she's this many albums in. What is this, her 6th or 7th or something? There was Strange Mercy, Marry Me, Actor, Self-Titled, Mass Seduction, and then this one, so 6. And everyone has, and the one with David Byrne, so I guess 7 technically, but the Nowhere In soundtrack was number 8. But yeah, she set this like crazy high bar, so if like the next record doesn't completely just like blow you away, then you could kind of be like, oh, okay, whatever. But I think that taken out of context of her discography and just looked at on its own merit, Daddy's Home is a terrific record. Probably should be a little bit higher on the list, but I put this together incredibly quickly. And so, it is what it is, whatever. This next one, kind of like the Alicia Walter record, caught me by surprise because it wasn't an artist that I was familiar with, but it was a record that I loved instantly. Maybe not on the same level as the Alicia Walter because this isn't quite as creative. It's definitely an homage to a certain style of music, but it's Junior Thomas and the Volcanoes, Beware. Thankfully, I opened one of these up to show the color of the record and realized what an incredible album it was, and so I was like, okay, I get to keep this one before they sell out of the colored versions, which they did pretty quickly. But yeah, right on the hype sticker, a sincere love to classic Jamaican music, and that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's the good reggae, not the blue-eyed reggae, not the, cheesy kind of cliche reggae. It's just, more like in the vein of some early rocksteady or really early reggae. And it's just really freaking good. So that's number 7, I believe. Yeah, 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6. An artist who I just absolutely adore and have always been just a huge fanboy for, and who really, to this day, has never let me down. This is Laura Stevenson's new record. It's self-titled. The first album of hers that I discovered was an album called The Wheel, and it has a song on it called The Move, which will just make you cry every single time. It's beautifully written and performed, and so I got to see Laura Stevenson open for Against Me with another band called Cheap Girls in March of what was it, 2015 maybe, or 2014? I don't know, it was a long time ago. I think it was before Cocksure came out, so maybe 2014. Anyway, and the way that her voice is perfect live just absolutely wrecked me. And yeah, I mean, everything you hear on her records is exactly how she sounds live. She's so incredibly talented, and her songwriting is so intimate and vulnerable and like real and honest in a way that I just really resonate with. And I think this record was fantastic. It's featured longtime collaborator Jeff Rosenstock on guitar. She kind of started off playing with Bond in the music industry, but I think because of that, you get some of the kind of ballady, somber, intimate moments that appeared on her last album, The Big Freeze, but then you also get some more of the stuff from Cocksure, which was more of just like a straight-ahead rock record, in a way that she hadn't quite done as much before that. Her most energetic record, I would say. And so you get like a nice combination of those two things on this one that I really, really enjoyed. And I think there's some like incredibly memorable songs on there. So definitely a strong 6 on the list. And yeah, listen to it if you haven't, please. I feel like it's getting overlooked in the top list, and it's a damn shame, I would say. All right, so we are at 1, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, number 5. This is another record by an artist that I didn't know before this year. I guess that's like kind of a theme in my top 10 is like stuff that I wasn't familiar with that I probably ordered for the shop because the blurb about it sounded interesting, and so I was like, yeah, you know, I'll get a couple of copies of those and see what happens. And this was definitely one of those for me. I mean, at this point, really anything that Sacred Bones releases, you can guess is going to be good, or at least interesting at the bare minimum. And this one was incredible. This is Spelling, The Turning Wheel. It's a double disc album that's kind of split into 2 parts, Above and Below. And it's beautiful, it's adventurous, it's lush in its instruments, and its instrumentation and arrangements. It has like these kind of like glimmers of like late 1990s, early 2000s, like, you know, pop kind of melodies, like almost little hints at it, things that like someone like Spelling, who I'm assuming is plus or minus 5 or so years to my age. I'm 29, so, you know, it's probably around there somewhere. That stuff would just seep into your musical vocabulary if you were like alive at that point in time, and so it kind of seeps into the music as well. It could be very intentional also. I don't really know much about them or you know, the process of writing this record, but I can tell you that it is a phenomenal record. And if you don't believe me, go watch Anthony Fantano's review of it, because he gave it a 10 out of 10, which doesn't happen a whole lot. But, you know, there it is. The sound and the color on this record, or on this video, is just going to be absolutely dreadful. But, you know, we're working with what we're working with, so here we go. Number 5? Shit. Number 4. God damn it. I need to get better at this. Oh man. Alright. Duran Jones and the Indications, Private Space. It does kind of bum me out a little bit, I will say, listening to this record, because there's so much Aaron Frazier on it, and the band is called Duran Jones and the Indications, and I feel like, you know, he is on quite a bit of it, but you know, I feel like he's almost getting like pushed to the side a little bit. Aaron Frazier is on more songs than he is, I believe, looking at this very quickly. I don't know, anyway. But I think they're great. I liked their first couple of records, but they weren't records that would ever make like my year of top 10 or anything like that. Mostly just because of how like throwback and just like, you know, just kind of doing the old soul thing, which I know Rugged Nuggets and Junior Thomas and Volcanoes also do that, and they may music's complicated. But with this one, they kind of infuse that like old soul, Sam Cooke, Otis Redding kind of thing, like similar to what Leon Bridges is doing, with like a more disco, funkified, infectious melody type of thing. And you know, the fact that they can go from With You to Private Space in one move and it not seem weird is crazy, because With You is very, that's a song I play when I DJ all the time. It's a dance number, and Private Space is this very ethereal kind of song. It's great though. Number 3. If you don't know, now you know, and you should have always known. Sincere Engineer. Bless My Psyche. Holy shit, this is a great record. Her first record, Rumbithian, was also incredible, and maybe one of my favorite albums of all time. I listen to it a lot and I love it. But, you know, you spend your whole life writing your first record and then you have a year to write your second. Well, she came through with Bless My Psyche and delivered another collection of infectious, melodic, hooky, personal punk rock bangers that fill this record. And, you know, maybe some of it's like a generational thing that her and I think are kind of close in age. And also, you know, she talks about it on Rumbithian, but was supposed to go to dental school, quit to be in a band. I was supposed to go to grad school, and I I didn't quit, I just never went and opened a record store instead. So I don't know, there's some kind of kindred spirit thing going on there where I can relate to her in a lot of ways, or at least maybe not directly relate, but I feel where she's coming from on a lot of songs. So there's that. My number 2, maybe it should be lower. It's not a new record, but it's the first time it's ever been on vinyl. And so, you know, you can take whatever umbrage you want with me in the comments over that. But I don't give a shit, really. Because it's a great record, and it's Parasites, Retro Pop Remasters. Yeah, there's a lot of contradictory nonsense that's going on with this and me right now. I don't like greatest hits records. I do everything I can to not stock them in the shop. I just think, why? What's the point? With this record, there's kind of a point. I mean, all the songs are great, and I like it, and my friend's record label, Otitis Media Records, released it, and the CDs and the cassettes came out probably earlier in 2021, like March or something maybe. And I remember popping the cassette in, not being super familiar with this band straight away, I should mention. I remember popping the cassette in and listening to it and being like, holy shit, this is the exact brand of pop punk that I love and grew up on. And it's like my absolute favorite sound that music can make, I think. It's just fun and gets me hyped and makes me want to like sing along and all that kind of stuff. And I love it. I love this record. I think it's fantastic that Noah got to release it, or that he put, you know, so much work into releasing it. And also, maybe it's creeped into my number 2 because it's a slightly sentimental piece for me, because it's also my first Wax Mage pressing of a record. Noah came through for You Boy and hooked it. I mean, he didn't. I paid him for it, but you know, you can only, I think the most that that Wax Mage will allow you to make is 25 copies of this type of record. So even, you know, no matter how much they cost or how much you're willing to pay for them, they're still not easy to get because of how incredibly limited they are. So I thank him for setting that aside for me and allowing me to purchase that, not have to go into the Wax Mage Squid Games to try to secure myself a copy. And also, just congrats on this record and another great year of releasing awesome music. There's a ton of Otitis Media releases that came out this year that I love and that I would show, but there's literally just so many of them that you're better off just going to otitismediarecords.com and checking out the full catalog, because there's a ton of stuff from punk rock to surf punk, and, you know, some more psychedelic stuff. The Narjitos record is amazing. I believe that's a 2021 release. And another one that I meant to pull out of the stacks. I don't know where it is right now, but that was another great record from this year that I should have shown, but I can't find it. My records are not as organized as they should be. Sorry about it. And, alright, so that was number 2. Number 1, my favorite record of the year. Might not surprise a lot of you if you have paid attention to our social media, but might surprise some people because it really is not in line with the rest of the records in my top 10. But it is The Color Blue by the rapper Blue, B-L-U. Every song has the word blue in the title, and every song has like a sample that references the word blue. For the most part, I think they all do. It's just really goddamn good. I mean, he raps his freaking ass off on this thing. It's a smart record. The flows are great. The lyrics are, you know, he talks about a lot of different stuff, covers a wide range of topics on here, all eloquently, all poignantly, all cleverly, and it's some of the best sample-based beats that you'll hear this year. So not only does it have some of the best production in hip-hop this year, it also has some of the best rhymes in hip-hop this year, and the fact that he is able to do so much on as simple a premise as The Color Blue is astounding, especially because he's been doing it like his whole career. But this record rips. I mean, the last record that he did with Exile, Miles, was also amazing. I never got my hands on a copy of that one, but definitely check out The Color Blue by Blue if you haven't already, because I listened to it constantly this year since it came out. Definitely worth checking out. All right, so those are most of my favorite records of the year. That's my top 10 of the year. I would love nothing more than to argue with you about the merits of my list. So if you take umbrage with it or have some qualm with me, go ahead and drop it in the comments, because I'm right and you're wrong. Not really. But you know, I do really like these, and I understand that not everybody does, or that people have different lists. I'm sure people are going to be mad at me for not including Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Casey Musgraves, what else? Adele was another one. Oh, another record that I didn't get to listen to as much as I would have wanted is that Idols record. I've only listened to it like maybe once or twice, so I definitely need to listen to that Idols record more. A big part of some of the records that I haven't gotten to is because we sell out of them so fast, and pretty much the only way that I'm listening to music these days is on vinyl. At the shop, I don't really listen to music in my car all that often. I do listen to music when I play basketball or go golf by myself, but I usually tend towards a particular type of music depending on what mood I'm in. It's either hip-hop or ambient electronic. It can really go either way. But yeah, anyhow. So yeah. That is the end of all of this. If you've made it this far, these plugs probably mean nothing to you because you're probably already doing these things, but you know, go follow us on social media at Hybrid Records TX, on Instagram and Twitter, facebook.com/hybridrecordstx, hybridrecordstx.com. You can definitely buy some of this stuff there, the Junior Thomas and the Volcanoes. I know the Blue is still available, Parasites. I think we still have some Duran Jones. We definitely have some Laura Stevenson left. Definitely have that Alicia Walter record in stock. A lot of the there's a lot of this stuff that's on my list that we do still have copies of that are for sale if you haven't grabbed one already, which you should have grabbed a lot of these already. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Like, subscribe, do all that crap, ring the bell, give it a thumbs up, tell your mom, tell your sister. Let's, I always say I'm going to be more consistent about these YouTube video things, but it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see. Maybe maybe I can find a space where everything's just always set up and I can just plug in and go, and it'll make it a little easier for me to record these things and not have to go through the rigmarole of the setup process, none of which you care about right now. I don't know why I'm saying all this to you. But definitely keep an eye on all the social media, because there is big shit happening in 2022. We're going to take all of this to the next level. IRL, not the digital stuff, but we're taking our IRL-ness to the next level in 2022. So keep an eye on that, because it's going to be very dope. I'm very excited. All I'll say is that Record Store Day 2022, if COVID doesn't mutate again into something terrible, will be lit. So wear a mask, stay safe, buy more records. Vinyl is forever. You know the vibes. I'll see you next time.